to the Happy Beyond Fit podcast with Maria Browning. Let me invite you to be a fly on the wall in my intimate conversation with Mauricio Camargo, one of our Zumba leaders, Zumba jammer, Zincom presenter. But this time you're going to get to meet Mauricio, the real Mauricio, and different sides of him. The youth pastor, the dad, the husband, the son, the Zumba instructor, the Zumba presenter, the Instagram influencer, the business person, the very organized person behind what we see on his amazing performances and choreographies on social media, or when we get to take his jam sessions. You're going to have the privilege to get to know Mauricio deep inside, what we don't get to see because, as he describes himself, he is very introverted. Thank you, Mauricio, for allowing us to get to know you better, and everybody enjoy it.
Gracias por la invitación.
Quick wrap up. You are married. For how long have you been married?
9 years.
You have 3 kids. How old are your kids?
So I have Dylan, who's 7. He's about to be 8. Perry, who's 10. And Dominic, that just turned 20.
Okay, so I'm going to be very curious and open with all of my questions here. So I want to know which kid comes from who, and then you guys join forces together because the older kids obviously are older than your relationship with your husband.
Yeah. No, so our 3 kids are ours, are both of us. There's not like this one comes from me, this one comes from you. They're ours. And
How is it? Okay, in my limited head, I'm thinking you had a relationship before and you had this kid. He had a relationship before he had this kid. You guys got together, joined forces with these 2 kids, and then you have one together. So it's not like that? Tell me, please, how it happened.
No, I think you're thinking of like a straight relationship.
Well, I don't know your background, so I'm going there little by little.
Yeah. See, we adopted our 3 kids. It's something that both my husband and I wanted. When we first got together, we knew that we wanted a family. We knew that we wanted kids. But also, we've made the decision to allow them, when they're ready, to tell their story. I don't think it's like our right or our decision to say it for them. But yeah, our 3 kids are adopted. We wanted them. We dreamt them. It was everything we wanted. So no, it's not like I came from a previous relationship with a child.
Okay, got it. So the 2 older kids were adopted when they were older, not as babies.
Exactly, yeah.
Can you please guide me through the adoption process? Like how difficult, how, I don't know, time consuming, money consuming, everything?
I mean, it depends. There's a lot of options that, and especially as times continue to evolve socially, there's a lot of options people can different routes they can take. They can do a private adoption through a private agency, which is very expensive. They can go through the system, through like the government system, which is like dealing with kids.
Like foster parenting first and then, okay.
Exactly. Through like the foster care program. There's also some other agencies. So back in the day, like traditionally, adoptions were handled by the church. And even till, I want to say 2018, 2017, it's something that has recently changed. A lot of the adoptions were handled through the church, even through the government. And it wasn't until a lot of like mental health networks started to then develop their own program or their own, I guess you can say, company that work with the government in order to pair these children with families. So it depends on, a lot of factors go into like deciding if you're adopting, religious factors, health factors, especially for straight couples that cannot that cannot get pregnant. So yeah, it depends where you want to go. It can be very expensive no matter what you do, because it's a child, and having a child is expensive. But yeah.
So which route did you guys go through? Was it different routes with each adoption, or it was just the same that you got the hang of it, you became a pro, so it was easier to continue to go that route?
It was the same route for all 3 of them. And then again, like I said, like we have made the decision as a family to allow the kids, when they're ready, to tell their story.
Have you guys also thought about doing surrogacy and having your child that has your DNA?
Yeah, I mean, initially when we were starting our family, of course, that was a thought. And that was an idea, but I don't know. I think it just played out. I think I'm a very strong believer in like energies, and what you put out in the world comes back to you. And I'm a very strong believer that things are meant to happen, and they happen for a reason, regardless if they're good or bad. And to be honest, like I do think that my children were born to be ours. Like I think it was destined. I think it was meant to be that we were going to be their parents. I don't see my life without them. I don't see it any other way. We went through the same route with all three of them, and all three situations were completely different. But I strongly, strongly believe that regardless how you want to see it, like God or the universe or the energy, everything played out and everything was meant for them to be our children. I always knew I wanted to be a dad. I mean, there's people are born with either that maternal or that paternal instinct, like that natural instinct. And from very, very, even before I thought I wanted to get married, or even before I even knew I've always known I was gay, but even before I like openly came out and started living my life, I knew that I always wanted a family. I didn't grow up with a big family, so I knew that's something that I wanted for myself. I didn't grow up with like traditions and every summer we do this, or like those traditions that you create as a family. So I knew that was something that I wanted to for myself, and that was something that I wanted to, in a way, as you're saying, leave as a legacy, and allow my children to then continue it with their children, because I didn't have it. So I think as a parent, I've lived my life of like wanting to provide for my children the things that I didn't have growing up, which I think a lot of Latinos can relate to that, or people that come from third world countries, I guess we can say, that you want to be able to give your children the opportunities you didn't have. So I think that was like from very early on, that was my initial thought of me wanting a family.
Okay, so you grew up in a family of how many? How many siblings? Were your parents married, divorced?
I grew up with a single mom. I have a brother with my mom and dad, and then I have, I don't know how many. I have another brother through dad that I'm close to, and then I want to say I have like 4 or 5 other brothers through dad's side that I really have never met. I've met one, I've met my other brother, the one that follows us, and we kind of grew up with him, and he's always been a part of my life. And then the other ones, I've only met one of them, and I've never met the other ones.
Okay, so you're born in Colombia, and at which age do you move to the United States?
I was 8 years old, 7 turning 8 when I moved to the U.S.
Your oldest sibling was how old?
I'm the oldest.
Okay. So the older sibling was how old?
Yeah, so my brother's a year younger than me. My brother's 33. And then my other brother, who we kind of grew up with from my dad's side, he is 27, 28, recently got married. And then, to be honest, I don't know how old are my other brothers.
Okay, so your mom moves to the U.S. with your dad or on her own?
No, on her own.
And your dad stays in Colombia?
Yes.
And that's why you don't have much contact with your other siblings, because they are in Colombia.
Exactly, yeah.
This other sibling that just turned 27, is he still in Colombia or he came to the U.S.?
No, he's here. He was born here. My dad met his mom here. My dad would travel a lot. So that brother's here. And I think that's why we kind of had a connection, because he lived in Miami as we did. And then his mom and my mom were pretty close. They were friends. So we've always had contact with him, yeah.
So you grew up with your mom mainly, but your dad was still present in your life? Not constantly, but at least like he tried to be present?
No, not really. My dad's family was very present in my life. And my uncles, his brothers, were really kind of that father figure for me. They were very, very present in my life. And a lot of my childhood experiences and memories that I have are with my uncles and with my paternal grandmother. But my dad wasn't really... No, my dad was not present. He was living his life. He was, doing his own thing.
Okay,
the good thing is that I had my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, who was everything for me. He was truly the father figure for me growing up. And it's funny because now that I'm a dad, like I go back to a lot of his teachings as I'm teaching and like disciplining my kids. It's like everything that he would do to us or say to us or instilled in us, it's always in the back of my head now as I'm a dad myself.
Even though back then you were really not paying attention, but it really stays in your subconscious, right?
Exactly, because you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, because it's like I had my mom, I had these male figures who were uncle, grandfathers, but in my head as a young child, it wasn't like, this is my father figure. It was just, this is my grandfather who's very present. And now as a dad is like, oh no, my grandfather was my dad. I mean, everything that I'm teaching my kids now, everything that I do with them is literally what he did with me.
That's so beautiful to realize now. Is he
Yeah,
still alive?
yeah, he is. He is.
And do you go visit him? Where do they live? In Miami?
In Miami, yeah. No, of course. I mean, especially when I go to Miami for Zumba projects, the first thing I do, and everybody at home office, everybody in Zumba knows, the first thing I do is go visit my grandparents.
That's beautiful. So, which kind of traditions are you building with your family now that you have the chance to make this
And
project happen?
everything.
Like, what are the most exciting traditions that you have built?
Halloween. Halloween is
What
like
What do you do?
everything. We do everything. I mean, I'm literally that dad. Both my husband and I, by the way, like we're both equally as involved. We are those parents that are at the school that volunteer for everything, that go on every field trip, that do everything, like anything that there is to do in the community or in the school or like for our kids, we do it. And I think our most favorite thing to do is Halloween. I go full out for Halloween. I like decorate my house. I do shows. Um, and it's my kids look for. I mean, it's like it's our favorite time of the year.
Do you guys match the costumes?
We did. We were doing that for a little bit, especially during quarantine when everybody was so bored. We were shared in like a ton of like magazines and like websites, especially for same sex couples because we always tried for our costumes to be in the same thing. Of we let the little kids decide what they wanted to be. And then we, with the oldest, we played around. So we were like Ghostbusters one time. Then we were like Jurassic Park. Again, because we do so many things, my kids have 3 to 5 costumes every Halloween
You
because
go
they have,
all out.
yeah, no, I mean, it's a thing because my kids have a costume for the trunk or treat, which my community, mind you, we just moved to Georgia. So now we're trying to figure this out. But they had a costume for trunk or treat. They had a costume for the school, like the day the kids went to able to be dressed up. They had a costume for when I did the hologram shows in my house, and then they had a costume for actual Halloween day.
Wow. So you guys already ordered all the costumes because Halloween is around the corner. So you're all prepared already or you're in the process?
Oh no, we've had them for months. They've actually worn them.
That is amazing. So
Yeah,
why
yeah.
did you guys decide to move to Georgia?
My husband got a job, so he was given a great
What does he
opportunity.
do?
He's a vice president of a nonprofit. We knew we wanted to leave Arizona. We wanted to, again, as a person that grew up in Miami, I wanted to expose my kids to different cultures, different people. Arizona's very mainstream. The whole city, the whole state, culturally is very Mexican American. There's very little diversity, especially where we live. Like there was no Colombian restaurant, there was no Cuban restaurant, there was no, and I wanted my kids to grow up with that because I think that has played a huge part of who I am as a person today. You know, being from Miami, you're so exposed to people from all over the world, their different cultures, traditions, rules, and you just become more aware socially and mentally with the diversity around you.
So why did you end up living in Arizona? When did you move out of Miami?
When I met my husband,
And how
he's
did you meet him?
we met through mutual friends on social media. So we had a couple of mutual friends through social media. One friend was like, "Hey, let me introduce you to a friend that I know from Arizona," and then we were introduced. We started talking, and the rest is history.
You were both single at the time.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
So guide me through the process of growing up in Miami. How early did you know you were homosexual? And what were the challenges in the Latin culture? Because I know like Latinos can be very machos
Yeah.
and the bullying, Latinos don't consider it bullying. It's just the way we are. We just talk to each other that way. So
Thanks.
can you guide me a little bit through that process?
No, I think not just for me, but for any person out there. You know, since you're able to have any self-conscience about sexuality and sexual orientation, I think we all know it's not something that you turn into. It's not something that you one day watch the movie or watch the show or were exposed and then I'm gay. No, it's something you're born gay. I mean, you're born with
But
that sex.
also, but also there's that thing that happened that gave you the certainty. Like, oh, yes, this is what I like. Because I can see it in my son. And I'm very interested in this side of your life
Mhm.
because my son is gay. So
Yeah, yeah.
I look at your beautiful family and it just makes me smile and enjoy to think that that's the kind of family my son's going to have. So like when you were telling me, I always knew that I wanted to be a dad. That's what my son says. When you said I didn't grow up with traditions, and that's what I want to do with my kids. That's exactly what my son says. So this is just like so even more beautiful. So that's why I'm more curious about this side. And I know at some point I'm going to have to ask you other questions, not just about your personal life, but I'm just like so intrigued.
No, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
very curious. I always knew since my son was 3 or 4 years old, I already knew that he was gay
yeah.
before he even came to that conclusion himself. But I was not going to say it to him, obviously. So at 10, we went to the movies. I think it was Beauty and Beast. And when we came back from the movies, that's when he put two and two together. And he told me, he was only 10 years old. He was like, you know what? I think I like guys, not girls.
He told you at
Because
10?
yes. And it was the most pure way to say it. He was like, I find girls beautiful because he had played the game of, yeah, she's my girlfriend when they were
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
little kids. And he's like, I find girls beautiful, but I don't feel for girls what I feel for boys. And watching this movie, like, really made it clear for me. And I was like, that is so beautiful, Amor, that you are so clear in what you like. Didn't call it any names or anything. Then I saw the process like a year later. He was like, so if I like boys, does it mean that I am gay? Like he had not put those two together. And I'm like, yes, I think so. And then he's like, wow, I don't know anyone that is gay. And I'm like, really? My best friend at the time was gay and she had been for 20 years married in a relationship with kids. But I guess he just didn't see it as that because it was not two men together. It was two women together. So it was just so beautiful and natural. But I do see that there were key things that happened in him that gave him the certainty. So do you remember anything that gave you that clear understanding of, yeah, this is who I am, this is what I like?
No, no, no. Honestly, I mean, personally for me, no, I think it's just having those life experiences where you see that social normalcy and realize that that's not who you are. There's a lot of people out there where something specific happens to them where it makes them realize. I think for me, it was just living through life and realizing that I like other things. And I do have to say, now that you're saying that your son told you at 10, that speaks volumes of who you are as a mother. Because even though my mom was an incredible mom, and even though she was very present and, typical single mother who did everything for my brother and I didn't, it's not that I didn't feel safe. I just wasn't sure opening up to her. I came out of the closet very late, which we'll talk about in a second, but I wasn't to say who I was or to accept who I was, just like any other person out there, because of the fear of how my mom was going to react, how she was going to take it. So to hear that he was able to feel so comfortable around you, that you created this safe, trusting, comfortable relationship for him to be able to tell you at 10 it's huge. Because I think the one thing that a lot of us who have a different sexual orientation struggle with is having that courage and being comfortable enough to come out and live your life. For me, again, it was just going through experiences, knowing, realizing, seeing my brother have girlfriends and realize that and I did, of course, like any other child, I had like little girlfriends in middle school and stuff and high school growing up, but realizing that that's not what I am attracted to. My story when it comes to my sexuality, we can be here talking for hours. Yeah, no, I think it was just having those life experiences that I was like, yeah, no, I like men. I want a future with another man. I don't see myself marrying a woman. It's just coming to terms with who you are and being comfortable and strong enough to then come out and live your life unapologetically,
When was the first time that you said to a person, I am gay?
My brother. Yeah, it
How
was.
old were you?
I was probably 18, 17. And to that moment, I had lived my life very heteronorm, very, girlfriends in high school, very masculine. It was through my last years of high school where I kind of realized that I couldn't fake it anymore. I came out to my brother first. My brother's the opposite of who I am in everything I do. I mean, who I am as a person, my brother's the complete opposite. And I thought he wasn't going to take it well. He didn't care. He was like, oh, I think we kind of all knew it's okay. And then I told him, I was like, I'm going to go tell my mom. And I think that same day or the day later, I was like, I called my mom to her room. I was like, I need to talk to you. I need to tell you something. I told her. And just like you, my mom's like, I've always known since you were little. I kind of had my doubts because you had a girlfriend. So it was kind of like maybe he's discovering who, but my mom always knew.
So
Yeah.
ever since you started dating men, boys, and was it a little weird to be out with men, just like not having to hide anymore? Or it was like freedom? You loved it from the very get go.
It's difficult to explain. Again, because of my background. So I grew up very religious. And it wasn't because my family was religious. It was a personal choice. I was very Christian. I was very involved in, I mean, very, very involved in the church. I was a youth group pastor. I went on a mission where like I put my life on hold for a whole year to go spread, the gospel and the word of God. It was a personal choice. So in the back of my head growing up, it was always like trying to cover that aspect or fix or change, or I don't know what the proper word is now. And always praying to God to change me, to fix me. When I did come out, see, the thing is that, and a lot of like the gay guys who are watching can relate, the gay culture and the gay community in itself is a whole different world. And I guess there's different levels. Again, I'm trying to be very careful on how I speak, because nowadays in this social climate, anything can be taken out of context. So when I did come out, I wasn't that openly out, holding hands in public, doing it, any public display of affection, or even very much in the dating scene or in the gay scene. I've always been a very reserved, I've always been a very introverted person. So it's not like I came out and I was living my rainbow life. I was still very in the closet. My friends knew, my family knew, but it was almost like we're close enough for you to know my sexual orientation. A lot of people in the Zumba world, when I started Zumba, they didn't know I was gay. I guess you can say I publicly came out when I met my husband.
Yes, because if I see you on the street, like I would never guess that you are gay.
Yeah,
You were just a very metrosexual guy, right? Very stylish and fashionable and good looking. But yeah, I
yeah.
would never guess. Besides, I don't have a gay radar, so I would really never guess that you are gay. So, do you feel that when you came out, your spiritual side or your religious side made it even harder for you to make peace with yourself? Because I was also, same as you, very Christian by choice. Also put my life on hold, went on missions, other countries, on the streets, evangelizing. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
I got married very young when I was 18. Uh, through the church, and everybody was like very supportive. We were supposed to be meant to be together, and 3 years later I wanted to divorce the guy because it was really a mistake. We really clearly made a mistake. And then so I went ahead through the divorce. The church kicked me out, which I ended up alone without my community. It was very painful. But then I had all these beliefs in my head through the religion that I was the sinner. I was the one who was doing something wrong, even though I felt that I needed to continue to go through my divorce and seek my happiness, right? But like it's all these conflicting thoughts that we have because of the Bible. So did you go
Yeah.
through all of this?
When I was living my Christian life, yes, absolutely. Because think about it, you're hearing these sermons, you're hearing these preachings and these life lessons being taught to you of, remember, the goal as a Christian is to have the purest relationship, the closest relationship you can with God. And in order to have that, you need to let go of those sins or of those things that you're doing wrong that are kind of creating layers in your relationship with God. So yes, of course, in my head, me being gay and being attracted to men was the one thing that wasn't allowing me to have a full, like 100% direct connection to God. So of course, yes, living my Christian life, yes, there was a lot of conflict. Like I said, like I would pray, I would fast, I would do so many things for God to fix me. And when I decided to come out to my brother, and when I decided to come out to my family, and when I decided to come out to my church, it was realizing, it was, I mean, again, it's a long story, but it was at a moment of prayer with God, realizing that he created me. I mean, I am who I am because that was his perfect design, you know? And again, we can ruffle a lot of feathers with what I'm about to say because many people have different beliefs, but we are taught that everything God is perfect and everything he does is perfect. And even if it's not because of our standards perfect, there is a reason for why he did such thing. They'll especially tell you that in the church when you're going through a hard situation, you're going through that because God wants you to go through that. You don't see it now, but you'll see it in the future. So in that moment with God, it was realizing that he created me exactly as I am. I think I am a living testament that I didn't turn gay. There was nothing, I was born this way. So it's accepting the fact that I try to be so careful with my words, but it was accepting for myself, whoever's listening, I'm not trying to change your point of view, was accepting the fact that God created me this way. I do now believe as I continue to have these life experiences that he created me to marry my husband, that he created me this way to have the kids that I have, which, had a purpose for me, but it also had a purpose on my kids' life, especially because they're adopted. So once I came to terms with that, I had the courage and I felt safe enough to come out to my family, to come out to my church. Now, how they took it and how they reacted, that's on them and their relationship with God. Because
So,
I know
but what happened at church? Give me the tea. Did they kick you
yeah,
out or?
I don't like to talk about it because I still have family members that
But
are involved in that
you can
church.
talk about
But
it with me because I understand 100%, and I
yeah,
am also 100% convinced that you are born
yeah,
this way, and it's not like this is a condition you're born with. No, you're born as normal as anybody else. You
yeah.
just your likings in life are don't put you in a category. This is absurd. But
Yeah,
I saw it on my kid as soon as he was
yeah.
young enough to start having a personality when he was 2 or 3. I already knew it. So I had my 4 years to deal with it myself, to accept it, to stop the madness around me. My mom praying for all the homosexual spirits to come out of my son and all of this. So by the time he was old enough to start discovering himself and talking about it, I had already dealt with all of that.
Yeah.
But I believe yes, you're born this way. So you can talk freely with me. And I'm sorry for those listening. If these are not your beliefs, we respect your beliefs. Just
Yeah,
like don't continue to listen to this podcast because I'm going to continue to ask Mauricio a lot
yeah.
of questions about this. So you were kicked out of the church, and have you been able to find another church, or you do your own spirituality on your own now?
No, no, I wasn't kicked out. So before we continue, let me make something clear. And this is something that I teach my
Okay.
kids, that you don't have to agree with a person's beliefs, thought process, lifestyle, opinions. You just need to respect them. And honestly, that's the one thing we tell our kids every single day, especially in the climate that we're living, social climate that we're living nowadays. Be a good person. Like always be a good person, regardless if you agree with it or not. Always be the bigger person because that speaks volume of your characters. And again, in the way that I believe, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So no, I wasn't kicked out of the church per se, because I went to an incredible church and growing up in that church and having God, trying to build that relationship with God for most of my life has again played a big part of who I am as a person today. The thing is that I was very involved in the church and I had per se very important titles in my church. Like I was in the church just like in anything in Zumba, in any company, and there's levels and there's titles and there's status.
Status.
Yeah, exactly, status. And I was a very important person in my church. So it's not that they kicked me out, it's just when I finally came out to my pastor, to like my personal pastor, because we have personal pastors, it was almost like, well, we're going to remove you from this and we're going to remove you from that, and you're not allowed to be by yourself with any other boys anymore. You need to have a chaperone. So I wasn't kicked out. It's not like they said, you can never come, but it was like, it's okay. We're going to continue to pray for God to fix you when there was nothing to fix. But because of how you're living your life now in sin, you cannot be this example. So I made the personal decision to live because I needed to still discover a lot of parts of myself that typically people do way earlier on than me at that moment being 20, I want to say, because when I think I was like courageous enough to come out to the church and everybody around me, I was probably like 19 going on 20. So I decided to leave. But yes, I mean, a
This
lot of
is
people.
so hypocritical of churches that now because you told them you're gay, they want to keep you away from boys as if you are a pedophile or like a
Yeah,
ex pervert. Like,
And
why don't
how I
they keep
felt.
their own pastors away from the women at church, not to be targeted? Like, this is so absurd, man.
Yeah.
I hope there are churches now that like are open uh
There
and
are, to be
not like this.
honest, especially with like the accessibility that we have to information because of social media and just having our phones. There are a lot of churches that are very, very accepting. I would say at this moment, especially for any of those religious people that are listening, I strong believe that there's still a lot of work for me to do with my relationship with God. I think that needed to happen in order for me to get to where I am today. And I think that at its time, I'm not, I don't go to church. I don't have the relationship that I used to with God. And I do strongly believe that in its moment it's going to happen, and God is going to give me that vision of like, this is why it happened and this is why it played out this way. It hasn't happened yet, and I know I can feel it, still having that, like, that holy, it's hard for me to talk like in religious terms, but anyways, I still have that, like, a presence from God still in the back of my head telling me like, we'll see, like, yeah, it hasn't happened.
Because we carry it within us. God is part of us. So he's always there, even if we're not going to a church. I have zero doubts that you continue to have your relationship with God.
Yeah.
You're just not exercising the community part of it, which is awesome because that's one big appeal. I freaking loved it. When I was young and we would go through, I don't know how to say this in English, vigilias, toda la noche, despiertos, alabando, cantando, danzando. Oh my God, that
Bueno,
was like,
entonces vamos a hablar en español porque es que yo crecí en la iglesia en latina. So, mucha del vocabulario que yo tengo, por eso es que no podía ponerlo en palabra, mucho del vocabulario que yo tengo es en español. So, tengo ya como que esa presencia, esa unción de Dios atrás de mi cabeza diciéndome como que... Y sí, yo también crecí en las vigilias, en los campamentos, o sea, vigilias hasta las 6 de la mañana lavando con todos los jóvenes, los...
campamentos de jóvenes son lo máximo, orando. Oh my God, hermoso.
Iglesia, porque tú eres colombiana, ¿no?
Colombiana,
Ah,
claro,
iglesia.
sí. Pero era una iglesia en Colombia. Ni me acuerdo cómo se llama porque yo he bloqueado muchas de estas cosas. Pero son iglesias sin denominación. Entonces, es muy parecido. Eso es todo lo que hacemos. Alabar a Dios con el grupo de alabanza. Es increíble las canciones. O sea, no, es la locura. Es como que uno está rumbeando todos los días,
Exacto.
pero de la manera más sana y le rumbeas a Dios y te conectas con Dios. Es lo más hermoso. Qué años tan hermosos. O sea,
Sí,
si
sí,
no
sí, sí.
fuera porque tienen que ser tan estrictos con tomando lo que dice la Biblia tan literal, lo cual no puede ser.
No.
Además, Dios no es la Biblia. Dios es Dios. And that's what I have come to realize throughout my years as well, that I can continue to have my deep relationship with God without going to the church. The church, I believe, is the community part keeps you living a healthy life and being in service to others. But Mauricio, let's face it, you and I have found our own church in Zumba. That
Yeah.
is our community. That is the way we are in service to others, service with each other, giving and receiving, giving love, receiving love. Like this is so beautiful. It's almost like a church kind of experience, and that's why Zumba is so successful. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever find a church for you to continue to go to. Yeah, maybe that's what you want in the future. To me, I found my church. I have Zumba. And I daily get in my daily meditations, and my meditations are for me to connect with my higher being, which is God, with my own self and my God. So I continue to have that deep relationship, but it has taken me years to be at peace with this because for other people, especially people that are still going to the church, they think that you don't have a relationship with God anymore just because you're not going to church. And like one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Exactly.
You can be even more in touch, more connected to God, and more aware of living your life following Jesus' example, which is to this point, I still say, who's your hero or that person that you admire the most. And to me, will always be Jesus. That's my example of life to follow. Yeah. Okay, moving on to our new church. Zumba.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you find our new church, and how old were you?
I was 20. I was in this transition of like discovering myself and like still going to the church, but not really. I was working for a gym. Actually, there's a video. Everybody listening, there's a video out there on YouTube done by Zumba where they like interview me. We had to be very careful, marketing wise and the way it was put out there. But the true story is I was working for a gym for kids. I was going to
Doing
college.
what?
I did everything. I did their marketing, their PR, their events. I also trained some of the kids. It was a gym for kids, targeted for kids with special needs. I was in college and the owner needed somebody to literally be his right hand man, be his right hand person, and I was that. I did everything. If the gym needed to be mopped, I mopped. If I needed to go to like the Chamber of Commerce to be part of a meeting and have the gym presence. I did everything. I had no idea what Zumba was. I didn't even know Zumba existed. At the end of the gym, we offered classes for the parents, kickboxing, every class. One of the classes that we would offer was Zumba. And this is what I was not allowed to say, which understandably in the video. The Zumba instructor would not come sometimes and wouldn't let us know that she was, and I can't even remember who she is now. She just wouldn't show up. Of course, I can think of that 2015, 2016 when Zumba was like especially in South Florida at its peak. It was our biggest class. We would have 30 people and then she would just not show up. And sometimes he would be like, let's just go in there, me and him. He's like, we'll just play salsa music, we dance, and people follow. And that's literally what we did. Because I did so many things for him, he was another person that played a huge part in my life. He would always send me to different trainings, like how to control like an autistic child that's having a moment, like restraining. He would send me to a training on how to market for gyms, like different trainings in order to continue to grow, especially because I was in college and he knew that it was going to be skills and certificates that were going to be added to my career. One day I
What
show
were
up.
you going to school for?
I was for marketing. I was in college
Okay.
for marketing.
So you
So
started working for this gym for the marketing part, and you ended up being trained in everything.
yes, he hired me to do their
Amazing.
marketing and their PR, and I ended up doing everything, which I didn't care because I
Amazing.
loved it. I really did
What an
loved it.
amazing opportunity to develop so many different skills.
Literally, yes, everything. And it's funny because now as a Zumba presenter and as a fitness presenter, there's so many things that I did in that gym that now are skills that I use even today. Anyways, I show up one day and he's like, listen, we're going to a training on Saturday. Wear comfortable clothes. It's going to be all day. Bring a snack. The same thing that he would tell me whenever he was like, I signed you up for this. And being so young and with nothing to do other than college and the job, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. He's like, we're comfortable, especially you, Maria, that you've been like an OG and you're going to relate so much to this. And in South Florida, we show up to FIU, the Florida International University. Me and him drive there together because I was living in Broward in Coral Springs then. We drive together, we show up. I start to see all these women in like colorful clothes arriving. And I'm like sitting next to him and I'm just like, where the fuck are we? Like, what are we doing? He's like, well, when we're there, he never told me what it was. He just said we're going to a training for the classes and the gym and what we offer. He's like, well, we're gonna do a Zumba training. I go, Zumba? The lady that we like are always having issues with her not showing up. He's like, yeah, because you should teach the class. And I was like, huh? Then he goes, I'm gonna pay you
So
forty
this was
dollars.
a setup for you to be
Yeah.
the instructor.
And he's like, I'm going to pay you $40. Think about it. I'm 19 years old in college working. I think he was paying me at that time like $8.50 an hour. And I was like, wait, you're going to pay me $40 for 1 hour? Hell yes, we're going to do it. He's like, yeah, I want you to take over the classes. We'll pay you. Let's do the training. I was hyped until the training started. You have to understand, I had no idea what Zumba was. I never stayed for the adult classes unless she didn't show up and then we had to like deal with it. Normally when it was done, I left. The adult classes was something he was doing because the gym was struggling. It was for extra money. So it's not like I was in that world at all. We go in, my B1 says is Eric Santana. Everybody's in colorful clothes. Everybody's ooh and screaming. Think about it. The peak of Zumba, 2014, 2015, I hated it. I was like, what is this? Especially when they divided us into 4 groups. Mind you, me and him were the only guys in that training. So, of course, Eric was like, you, come up here. And I'm an introverted person, so I wanted to die because I don't like, in that moment, I couldn't see myself standing in front of people dancing. I don't remember anything from the training. It's not because of Eric, because there's so many things that I still remember that he said, but because I was just so in my head of what is this? This is so corny. This is so, as a 19, 20-year-old, I was like, this is so, I'm not doing this. So we finished the training. Me and him meet up again. And he's like, yeah, look, $40 every single class. You take over because I know that it would happen. I was like, let's do it. Maria, when I tell you, I did the worst classes because, mind you, I didn't pay attention to the training.
You were embarrassed the whole training.
I was embarrassed the whole training to be there. And the college kids because it was at the FIU gym that was open. People were working out and guys will pass and girls will pass. And I was trying to hide behind a person so they wouldn't see me. And then I started teaching classes at the gym. Horrible. I would improvise. There was no such thing as making up choreos. I would just play music. And this was at the time before creating a playlist. This was remember when you used to take CDs and you needed to change the CDs and wait, let me fast forward to song number 4 because it's the one I want to do. I remember that I would just put play. He would create the CDs for me. He would be like, look, I just put a CD, press play, and I would just dance. I don't think I ever did a warm up. I don't think I ever did a cool down. I would just dance and have people follow me. Again, being a guy, even if you go up there and you
guys have it easier than girls.
Yeah.
Everybody's like,
yeah, of
you're
course.
Awesome.
We still had 20 people, 25 people, even though I was horrible. I mean, I had no choreographies. I would just play music. Sometimes I would do the class 30 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes an hour. It was just a free for all.
But what was your main rhythm to dance that you knew how to dance? You knew salsa, I assume, from
salsa
Colombia?
Salsa, because as a Colombian, growing up dancing salsa in Año Nuevo, the family reunions, and especially at church too, because, when we had youth group night, we would play salsa, merengue. That's all I did, but I can't even remember what I used to do. All I know is that it was bad and there was no structure and it was a free for all.
For how long?
Probably a year, a whole year.
You were not taking it seriously. You were just pulling it out of your booty.
And I was literally that Zumba person who had no idea who Beto was. I had no idea that Zumba was, in my head, for a whole year, Zumba was just a class we offered at our gym. It was not, there's this huge community. So I don't know if you remember back in that day, you used to actually look for instructors on Zumba.com and classes. That was everybody did that. You looked for Zumba instructors on Zumba.com and local classes and stuff. So then, I'm working there for a year, hot mess, doing whatever. I get a call from a person, from a girl. She's like, listen, my name is, I'm going to tell you the name. She goes, my name is so-and-so. I own a studio and I'm looking for a male instructor because, again, males sell, especially in South Florida. She goes, I'm looking for a male instructor and I see that you live 2 miles from my gym. And I was like, yes, I teach out here. She goes, it will be in the evening. Our classes were at 4, 6, because it was right after the mom will come pick up the kids. We had a daycare for the kids and then they will stay and do their exercise. She goes, no. My classes will be at 7, 8. And I was like, perfect. How much do you pay? She goes, well, it depends. Let me see you, and then I'll tell you how much we pay. I was like, okay. It was Priscila Sartori when she had her Xiao Dache studio in Boca, almost entering Boca, right there by Tamarack, Coral Spring area. She goes, come, I go. She goes, take my class. Fabio Barros was there. Paula Picon, she used to be a CJ. Paula Picon was there, who was my favorite CJ once I got. Anyways, that's another other story. She goes, come take. And Priscilla.
And at that time, Priscilla was Beto's right hand.
Yes.
And so Priscilla, you couldn't have landed at a better place.
Maria, you have no freaking idea. Hold on. The story gets better. I show up to the class at her little Xiao Dace studio. It was a very small studio, packed. La gente no cabía. People didn't fit. They was dancing like this. All the Brazilians from that Boca, Tamarack kind of area. She's like, listen, the class finishes and she's like, listen, I'm going to be honest, you have a lot of potential. And this is something Priscilla said from day one. She goes, you have a lot of potential. You're just doing everything wrong. Oh, because she said, bring a song and you're going to do a song. She goes, do you have choreography or were you improvising? You know, you can tell now, you could tell when, and I was like, no, I'm improvising. She goes, I could tell. Priscilla took me under her wing. She taught me everything that I know to this day. She taught me everything. I met Fabio Barros for
How
me.
much did she pay you?
At that time, Priscilla's such a sweetheart. I want to say she paid me good. I mean, for that time, like 40, 45, maybe, which
Dude,
was a lot.
what a humbling situation for you that you were just improvising, not taking it seriously, and then you see Fabio Barros in
And
action.
Paula Picon. Do you know Paula Picon?
Yes.
Okay. So Paula Picon was one of the original, like 12 CJs or 10 CJs or 20 CJs, whatever CJs, at the same time that Bernadette, Bernadette's still in Florida. And I remember, and Paula Picon was like probably like 4 feet, 7 inches. Paula Picon was little, but her energy and to see someone teach. And I think for me, what was more shocking was to see how different everybody was. Like to see Priscilla teach and to see Fabio teach, because in Priscilla's studio, they would all teach together most of the time because
Wow.
they all worked and took classes themselves there. So a lot of the classes, and even my own classes, a lot of the classes were me and Priscilla co-teaching. Like once I started to like really get into it, and to see them and to be like, oh yeah, no, I've been doing it wrong. I haven't been doing this. Nothing that you guys are doing is what I've been doing in my class. She took me under her wing. But what really changed, Maria, what really changed everything for me, Priscilla was like, come, I'm going to teach you. Come to all of my classes. And I did, because I was so excited. I went to all of her classes to continue to grow. Fabio's classes, Paula's classes. She goes, there's an event, there's a Zumba event this weekend for a child who had brain cancer. She goes, there's a Zumba event this weekend. Come, because there's going to be other presenters. You're going to get to see their style too. She goes, because they're very different from me, especially for you. Because I was always, again, I was still, mind you, Priscilla didn't know I was gay in that time. I was still very, in, like what I told you, like in the closet. She invites me to this event, this masterclass. I was still working at the gym. She goes, come, we don't even remember where the masterclass was. She goes, let's go to the room where all the presenters are. We open the door. I get in there. She goes, all the presenters are sitting there. She goes, this is Wally, this is Armando, this is Heidi, this is, who else was there? I for sure remember Armando, because I remember being in that class and looking at Armando and being like, you could be that cool? Because in my brain, Zumba was still like
Yes, you were
embarrassing.
still embarrassed of it.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
embarrassed. Like, I was like, I don't want
So
people
he
to
was
know.
the one that broke that image for you,
No.
that showed you how cool it could be.
Yeah, Armando to this day is my idol. Like, I want to be just like Armando.
That's
And
so
he knows
beautiful.
that, and I always say this, and I think he's everybody's idol. But I remember
Yes,
looking.
I just interviewed Ronnie and he said the same thing.
Yeah. And I was like, I was looking at Armando and I was like, wait. You could dress like that and you could teach like that and you can act like that. Because, and Fabio, I had Fabio as a male reference, but Fabio's very samba. Fabio's very like, and Fabio taught a lot of Zumba Gold. Priscilla then, okay, I know I'm getting so excited telling the story, but Priscilla was like, come take my Zumba Kids at that point, Zumba Atomic. It wasn't even Zumba Kids. She goes, come take my Zumba Atomic training. I was like, yes. Come take my Zumba Gold training. I was like, yes, because Priscilla was doing her trainings. And then Fabio used to teach a lot of Zumba Gold at clubs. And Fabio was like, come to my class. I would go to all of Fabio's Zumba Gold classes. And, he would do his cha-cha and do his little hair like this, and I was just like, taking everything in from everywhere. But then to see someone like Armando, who was so cool, so dope, from the way he spoke to how he dressed. And I was like, I want to be like him. And after that class, I quit my job at the gym because it was taking a lot of my time. And then I started teaching Zumba full time because I wanted to be like Armando.
Oh my God. Now I'm thinking I have to invite Armando to this podcast and ask him if he has realized what a big impact he has been
I want to
on
make
the
this
big
I want to make
presenters.
this very clear, especially to the new instructors, because let's be honest, from COVID, we've had this new surge of instructors, right? It's almost like the
Yes.
people who really started with Zumba back in 2014. It's like, as Beto would say, the dinosaurs. I want to make it very clear, especially to the new instructors. Armando, in my opinion, was the footprint, the blueprint, the mold, and the role model to the male presenters that you see today. To me, to Ronnie, I don't want to say anybody else's name because I don't want to put words in their mouth, but he truly was the first person in our Zumba world to grab this whole concept, this whole Zumba formula, but make it his. Do something different. Because what I had seen to that moment, everybody, not to say that they were the same, but everybody had like a very standard, running. And then to see somebody like Armando, who in my eyes, somebody coming from outside of Zumba, to see somebody that was so different, I was like, I want to be him. This is what I want to do. And throughout my Zumba career, everything that I've done has always been modeled from, and then I got to be, just like Ronnie, I got to be part of Caribbean Heat, which changed my life forever. Because a lot of the things that Armando taught us in Caribbean Heat
So
is
wait,
literally what I
Armando invited you to be part of his presenting team, or
No.
how did it happen?
No, so I quit my job. I applied at LA Fitness. I applied at 24-Hour Fitness. And girl, my classes were huge. Mind you, this is, for the new people out there, this is the peak of Zumba. This is where, when trainings was sell out in seconds, when jam sessions were like, well, I don't think jams were like what they are today, because it was such...
regular classes had hundreds of people daily.
No, not hundreds. People from the front desk had to come up and be like, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's it. Sorry, guys. And there will be a line of 70 people, like, still who wouldn't be able to. This is in Miami, South Florida, where Zumba was like, I mean, the birthplace of Zumba. There was a bunch of other instructors like Stacy, Rob, Henry. I mean, so many instructors during that period that the classes, every class, no matter where you went, there was a lot of instructors doing bailoterapia, from Venezuela, that huge classes in El Doral. You know what I'm talking about. So I started working at 24-Hour Fitness, getting paid nothing, getting paid probably like $20, $18 a class, I think, in LA Fitness. But because I had a business mindset, because of working at the gym and the fact that I was going to school for marketing, I made it very clear from the beginning and go, listen, I'll take it. But if I grow the classes, if they're consistent, then I need to get paid more. And I have to say, every quarter, it was always sitting with the group, with the regional group manager being like, okay, what's going to be my raise? What's going to be my raise? By the time I left, because I left Florida when I moved to Arizona, I was not in the $20 range, especially in somewhere like Florida where Zumba classes are...
You were where?
Pretty high.
How high? Come on. Give us the tip.
No, because I don't want to cause problems with people that work at the gyms. I was very high.
Okay, got it.
I'll say this because everybody knows Equinox. I then got hired by Equinox. After I committed and I left my job and I started doing Zumba, I got hired by Equinox, and Equinox was paying me $120 a class. So, but the classes had to be consistent. And Equinox is one of those gyms that they'll give you 3 chances to bring up the numbers. Once the numbers are not up to their standards, they'll replace the class. So you really had to put in the work and be consistent. So yeah, I went full force into the Zumba world, and it's...
So how did you end up going to Armando's session?
So I got into the Zumba world. I started meeting other Zumba instructors, Henry, Rob, Maria. I mean, all these instructors that are still teaching today. Natalie, who hi Natalie, she's probably gonna watch this. Gina. I mean, so many like OG Zumba instructors of that South Florida scene, because in South Florida, we all know each other. Everybody knew each other. We all worked together. Adriana, we all worked together, did huge classes. I met Rob and Henry, and then we formed the Z Boys, which is a whole nother story. Yeah, I went full force. Like then I became that Zumba person who knew everything and knew everybody. And then I went to my first convention. Was actually not a convention. It was the LA conference, which I want to say the first LA conference happened in 2013. I don't know. 13? Was it 13?
Yes.
No, I have my date.
It is so cute that you really didn't know when you became an instructor, because I searched you up on Zumba.com, obviously, and you became an instructor in 2013.
2013?
Yes.
I thought I became an instructor in 2000. Then there must be a glitch, because I think I became an instructor in 2011.
Okay. Yes, but the LA conference was 2012 and 2013. There were 2 only.
Then I didn't go to the first LA conference. I went to an LA conference. That's what I went to. I remember it was my first one. And I had braces. I have the picture. Then I don't remember. Honestly, then I have my dates completely wrong. My first ever thing was an LA conference. That's where I took Caribbean Heat. Because of course Armando was my idol. Gina, that's when I saw Gina Grant for the first time, and I saw her in her burlesque. She had like this burlesque class with Betsy and Melissa Chiss, right? I think
Uh-huh.
it's Melissa Chiss.
Yes.
Because I was the instructor, I was like, I want to take things that I don't do because I want to learn. Like I want to like step from the beginning of my Zumba career. I have always tried to step out of my comfort zone, like do things that are not who I am. And when I saw Caribbean Heat, I was like, Caribbean Heat was my number one session. Like my whole schedule. Then I started going to conventions. My whole schedule revolved. No,
I'm doing the fact check. Yes, 2011.
2013. Then
And 11, and I'm going to tell you which year was that. It was Zine Convention 2013 and Zine LA Conference 2013.
then that's, and I became, no, there's no way because I had already been doing Zumba. There's no way.
Since 2011, because you became an instructor in 2011.
Well, you said I became an instructor 2013.
Yeah, no, but I'm fact checking myself.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
instructor since 2011, your first convention and conference 2013. Yes.
So let me tell you, 2011, I become an instructor, and don't forget, I go a whole year being a fake Zumba instructor, a fake one. And then I meet Priscilla, and I go a whole year living my Zumba fantasy, teaching at LA Fitness, teaching at 24-hour fitness. And because I was so into it, I was like, I'm going. Mind you, Maria, I did not. Okay, I don't want to get too emotional, but remember, single mother, it's just my mom, my brother, and we're struggling. We're struggling a lot. I didn't have money, and I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna book the LA conference. I wasn't even sure where I was gonna sleep. Nothing how I was gonna get there. It was a struggle, but I was like, I need to go to the LA conference. I go to the LA conference and I'm exposed. For those instructors that have never been to a convention, you haven't lived your Zumba life until you go to a Zumba convention, because it's when you're like your real eyes, if we're gonna get religious, is when las capas de los ojos are lifted, and you're like, even if you go to a lot of local events and stuff, you need to go to a
That's
convention.
when we speak in tongues.
Exactly. Es como una vigilia, pero de Zumba. Literalmente.
Exactly.
Because you're not
Literal.
gonna
For 4
sleep.
days.
Because you're not sleeping. But not anyways, I go to the LA conference and I'm like, now in that LA conference is when, and here's where it's gonna okay, Zumba did their first ever like contest, I guess you could say. I don't know what it was because I wasn't really that involved, but I remember that for that conference there was a contest. I think you needed to upload like something on YouTube, and then you got to dance in the fitness concert, right?
Yes.
And that concert is when Alejandro Angulo and all the YouTuberos, like all the YouTubers, because YouTube, being in YouTube in that period was, if you were traveling, if you were a YouTubero, or if you were like Gina Grant and Tanya Beersley, like those were the only people that would travel at that period.
Yeah, but the Zesses, there were no jammers yet, right? Or they started probably that year. We were not allowed to have a YouTube channel. That's why none of us took off really with a YouTube channel, because like it's in our contract. So yeah, the YouTuberos became the famous people.
Exactly. They were the ones. Anyways, I'm in this fitness concert, and the concert starts, and anybody that has been to a fitness concert, you're just like this, like mesmerized, because I was like, what is this? Like the drums, and this was back in the day when Beto was shoot up from the stage, and the lights and the artists, and I want to say it was like Pitbull, maybe, I don't remember who was there, but I just remember. And then they go, and now we're gonna bring out the contest winners, and I kind of picture it, and not really, because it's like blurry, because I was like in a trance. I remember that there was like a blue curtain, and they brought up the people who did the contest. And I was like, I want to be something. After that LA conference, I was like, I want to be something. I either want to be a presenter and I remember telling myself, I was like, one day I'm going to be on that stage, because I was like, and again, from my religious background, it was very like speaking to, I don't know how to put it. It was very much like profetizando, like one day I'm going to be on that stage. Watch my words. One day I'm going to be on that stage. And the LA conference for me was like, oh no. I'm going into this. And then I came back to Miami, and the rest is history, you know.
So how did you make it happen after that? What happened?
Then in 2015, so then I come back to Miami, teaching like crazy, partnering up with instructors, teaching with Robin Henry, teaching at 24-hour fitness, teaching at Equinox, teaching at the Boca. I mean, I would travel all of South Florida teaching, but I was getting paid well. I was getting
So
paid
that became your full-time job.
my full-time job.
Did you finish college?
No.
Okay, because you got trapped
I
in the
got trapped
Zumba.
in the Zumba religion. me fui de misionero, pero para Zumba. Like,
Exactly.
because, you know, I did the same thing
You
for
are.
I graduated high school. I gave myself a year to teach the teachings of God, and it was like history repeating itself. Which I'm about to tell you something, especially now that I know that you also grew up in the church. Yeah, I did the same thing for Zumba. I was like, I believe in myself. I want to do it, and I just dropped out of college. I was teaching like 27, 25. I don't remember classes. I would do 3 classes back to back. Like I would do toning steps Zumba, especially for 24-hour fitness. It was exhausting, but I was just so, you know, as a Zumba.
But at the same time, you had access to all of these successful Zumba big presenters that were based in Miami that used to get together for events, perhaps even events with Beto. So you had so much access to seeing, wow, I can make this happen.
Yeah,
Like these
no.
people are so real. They're my friends. They're making it happen. Like, yeah, I can totally make it happen.
And you know, South Florida people are very spoiled. And we all say this, like anybody that grew up in the Zumba scene, we're very spoiled because
In which sense?
you have Beto at the round of the corner. If you want to go take his class, you can go take a class with Ludmila. You can go take a class with Betsy. You can go take a class with Armando and Heidi. Like you are just so used to it that for people in other parts of the world, when they get to go to a master class with like a big face of Zumba, it's almost like, and for us, it's like, oh no, like I see them weekly.
Yes.
Like you're learning from the best and the biggest. And for me, again, coming from a person who didn't know what Zumba was, every time I attended something was like, oh my God, that's the girl that I saw on this. Like, especially because this was in the time where all the Zumba pictures were like this and the hair was like this. And now that I'm talking to you, Maria, let me tell you. So then I go to convention, whatever. Blah, 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 I'm teaching. I'm all in the Zumba world, blah, 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 blah. I go to my first convention, which I want to say was 2014. My first actual ZinCon. I don't know if you want to.
13. It says 2013. Because LA was in February, and then perhaps in the same summer you went to
Probably.
the
I
convention.
won't doubt it because I was such in a high from LA conference that I was like, I'm going to go to everything. I'm never missing anything. Listen to this. I get to convention and I was like, wait, this is bigger than LA because LA was very weird. Like it was like at a convention center, but you had to go through hallways and like it was the first, anyways, whatever that was. I remember the people who you always saw, and vamos a hablar sin filtro, let's talk with filter. The people that you always saw in all the marketing, and it was this marketing with the hair like this and the super tiny waist and the abs was Tanya, Melissa, you, Tanya, and Gina Grant. You guys were the faces of the CDs, like everything. I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this. I was in the bathroom. You know how, you know the escalate? Okay, you know the big window where they do the big banner? You know the big window. Okay, you know how there's
Yes.
the escalators? You know how
Uh-huh.
if you continue to walk past the escalators, you then go to those rooms in the back, and there's like a bathroom,
Yes.
the little hallway.
Uh-huh.
Where I remember that I was in the bathroom and I come out and I see this group of blue people all dressed in blue. And I remember seeing this supermodel, almost like a goddess with curly hair from the back. And you had like little like blue like strings. And I remember and being like and seeing your tiny little waist from the back. And that was the time that also the pants were really low. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
low. They're not those high waisted that everybody's wearing now. And I remember looking at you and I remember you guys walked away and I just remember being mesmerized. But even to then, as like I continue to grow in Zumba, you guys, the OGs, the people who were representing Zumba, you guys always look good. Like you never saw any of you not presenting yourself well. Like you guys always looked like you just came out of a video shoot all glammed up. And it's funny because then when Zumba started giving me opportunities, that's something that I've always kept in the back of my head. No matter what I do, and it also goes back to like my religious, no matter what I do, I'm always going to do it in excellence. It's either going to be excellence or I'd rather not do it at all. But I'll never forget because you look
Wow.
so
This is so
beautiful.
awesome to
Yeah, you
hear
look so
from
beautiful.
your side. And for people that are listening and you don't know what he means by this group of blue people, is because in the Aqua Zumba specialty, we have a tradition at Zumba
Yeah.
convention that for the theme party, we all dress up the same and we walk together towards the theme party screaming Aqua Zumba, Aqua Zumba. So it was the group of blue people because that's our
Yeah.
color.
But guys in
And
the
I
aqua.
was dressed as a mermaid, most likely, with I remember when I put those extensions with the blue hair. And yes, back then, when we started being the models used for the pictures, at the same year, we all got hair extensions at the same time. Gina and I showed up with our huge hair at the same. I know we all got the fake boobs. We all
I
got
know
the
because
surgery.
I remember hearing Priscilla talking about like whatever, and Priscilla has always been a very. It's so funny because when I think of Priscilla, I think of Shakira. Like Priscilla has always been natural. Like she's always, her natural long hair. And I remember, this is I guess giving like a lot of like too much inside detail, but I remember because I remember like, oh, the Cestas are getting their boobs done, and everybody's like because though people now always look good, but I'm saying back in that time where there was no social media, the only time people got to see you was in person. So in my
Convention.
brain, when I saw you guys, everybody, Armando, Gina, Wally, you guys always looked like movie stars, like supermodels, because it's not like now that everybody's so accessible and you can just go and look at I mean, so that's one thing that I'll take away from my early days. It was like whatever you guys always did, it was always
Oh,
perfect.
wait. Are
Yeah.
you trying to say that we inspire you to be this fashionable? Because you're always looking
Am I?
so gorgeous and dressed so fine. Did we inspire that?
No, everything. I think that there's not a person in this world who doesn't have a reference. Every person has a reference, and there was always one. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, but there's always one group of people, one person who started something and then and then yes, you grab it and you make it your own, but always having that reference. And again, like I said, for me, Zumba started giving me opportunities years later down the road. Zumba started giving me opportunities, and that was always in the back of my head. Like it was always like, if I'm going to be at the same level as them, I need to do what I always saw them doing, because that's what motivated me to get to that level. So
Yes,
it's
you
like, if
follow the
I'm gonna
trail to success.
exactly, it's like if I'm gonna do a flyer, it's gonna be a well flyer. If I'm gonna post a video, it's gonna be. And it's funny because now that we're living in the social media world, when I sometimes shoot videos with people, I tell them, because people can take things the wrong way. I tell them, if the video doesn't look good, FYI, I'm not posting it. And a lot of people that I've collaborated with, they're like, huh? No, I'm not posting it. If the quality is not up to the standards, a lot of people will post it just because it's something they did and it's content, even though the quality is not good, but they need it. I rather will go weeks without posting than post a video just because I need to post a video.
I want to get there to you giving us the trail to success to social media, because you have been very successful in social media. But before we get there, so when was the first time that you were presented with an opportunity to be on a Zumba video or to be a presenter at Zumba convention?
Wait, I never answered your question because I got so excited. Armando and Heidi do a contest to be in Caribbean Heat. I was like, mind you can search the video. Please don't, because it's so bad. It's on YouTube. It's an account that I don't have access to, so I haven't been able to delete it. Armando and Heidi in
And
2014.
what's the name of the song so I can search it
No,
up and
girl,
put it
no,
here?
never mind. It's not on YouTube. It's not on YouTube. Never mind. They do a contest to be part of their crew. Of course, I applied. I think I was in that transition of becoming a CJ, so which is why I was able to do, because it had to be like a YouTube link, and I made it. I think they picked three people. I had three or two. I don't remember how many of us it was, and I made it, and I got to be part of Caribbean Heat, and that's when I met Jamie, and that's when I met like now I was in like the presenter circle. Let's be honest, like because
Yes.
and there's like status and
As
I
anything in life.
exactly, not just Zumba guys, and as in anything else,
Yes.
you know,
In the
and
animal kingdom, it works the same way by status.
and being part of that and learning from Armando and seeing how he and Heidi put together their session, and stupid things. I mean, not stupid things, but I'm saying like such insignificant things that I think for them it was just normal, but for me it was a learning experience. Like sending the choreo so we can learn it, and then when we meet up, we might tweak them, but at least have this, like that, like how to come in and how to come out of the stage, how to dress. Because Armando and Heidi, out of all the presenters from the beginning, even before branding was a thing, they had a brand. You always knew that they were going to wear the colorful Adidas that everybody was going to match, that everybody was going to wear the same thing, but tweak it, make it their own. So it was me being exposed to that and seeing how all the work that goes behind onto being so successful and trying to replicate it and being inspired by it. And, I say this every time I have jams, everybody in the Zumba world knows that for me, Armando is like my Zumba god, my inspiration. I love him.
Inside tea for those who are listening, the only reason why Armando and Heidi had the balls to be so different in the Zumba world and were the pioneers of having your own brand, creating yourself as your own brand within the Zumba world is because they know Beto since they were in their 20s. They used to teach together. Beto became a very popular instructor in Colombia, teaching with Armando and Heidi. They were like buddies. They were like you said that Fabio and Priscilla and you will co-teach all the time. That was them together. So when they moved to the United States, Beto said, hey, you guys want to be a part of the Zumba world? They're like, yeah, sure, brother, we'll be with you. But it wasn't like, oh, yeah, I want to become a Zumba instructor. They're like, yeah, well, we've been doing this since forever. It's who we are already. And they are not only instructors, but they are singers, they are performers. So to the point that their older kid, his name is Alberto because the kid's godfather is Beto Perez. So that's why the kid has that name. So that says it all. And the kid is 24 now. So that's how long their friendship goes back. So obviously they had the freedom to be a brand, and boy, they inspire people in the Zumba world to do the same. That is so
To this day, they inspire me. And, even as a presenter, and I have to say at ZinCon, I'm very busy. I always make the time to stop by Caribbean Heat, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes. Because for me, that's always going to be the essence of who I am as an instructor.
So how did it feel being on that stage presenting Caribbean Heat to 1,000 people there?
Not just being on the stage and the present, even though we're not presenters, FYI people, if you dance behind a presenter, you're just helping with the session. In my brain, to dance in my favorite session. Like my schedule revolved around when Caribbean Heat was and when their master classes, when they had master classes, because again, I wanted to be in everything Armando did. It was to this day, I can't believe it. I was already with my husband. We were boyfriends when that happened. And to this day, he says, I could just see that you were like floating because you couldn't believe that you were dancing up there. And then when Armando will go like this and tell the girls to come up, and then he would only call the guys up. No, I was living my dream, my fantasy,
yeah. Amazing. Okay, so after that, when did you get your first session on your own at convention, or which one was first? Invited to do a video or invited to do a session?
No, so during that process, I was becoming a CJ. I didn't have the license yet. I was in the training, and I became a CJ with a group of people when they launched the rhythm, like when they launched salsa, merengue, reggaeton, the B ones, when they launched the rhythms and jam sessions. So for us, after we got trained, it took a whole year to then get our license. So my first opportunity was becoming a CJ, right? I became a salsa CJ. I started as a salsa CJ. And then I became a CJ coach. And then because I was a CJ coach and I was working so closely with the program, my first opportunity was doing a jam session at convention. So the first thing I ever did for Zumba was a jam session at ZinCon, which was
a salsa jam session.
A choreo, because then I became a choreo. I never did did I do? No, I don't know. No, it was a choreo. I never did a salsa jam session. Because then I became a coach, and then I got the choreo license, and I was still doing salsa. That was the first opportunity. Being a presenter, small, tiny room, probably had like 10, 11 people in my choreo jam.
No way.
Yeah, no, tiny room, 10, 11. But for me, this was my moment. I mean, I'm a presenter. I didn't care if there was two, as long as I was presenting. And then what? I was jamming. I was working hard, doing Zumba full time. And then my first ever opportunity, which the call came out of nowhere. Like I remember I was at Dayland Mall with my husband, and we were walking, and I get a call, and it says, home office on the top. And I remember my heart stopped because I was like, this cannot be the Zumba home office. I had never received a call from Zumba home office. And I know Ronnie talked about it, but it was Zin 68. So my first
Okay.
opportunity was a Zin volume. And I remember hanging up and being like, why me though? Like it doesn't make, like I haven't done anything. Like the only thing I could tell myself in my head was like, because sometimes when people get picked for something, there's a reason. Like somebody saw you, something happened. And I was like, why me? Like since
Like,
68?
who recommended my name?
Exactly. I was like, yeah. I was like, why me? And I do
So
want
it
to go back.
was also your first time doing a zine as well as Ronnie. You guys were
Yes,
newbies.
both of our, and it was a hot mess. I mean, I know that he said it was incredible and stuff, but I mean, I just, if I could go back
No,
and do it differently, I would.
no. He said it was incredible the second time because I said, "Oh, so you guys teamed up again years later?" And he said, "Yeah, for zine 90 something." Yes, yeah. So the first one, of course, you guys didn't know what to do. So
No,
you got your songs, he got his songs.
that's literally what we did. We did what everybody does. We got the songs, we divided it in half, we met up to rehearse, we rehearsed. And it's funny because, and yes, I'll admit, I have no shame. I am that instructor that when I find old videos of mine, I delete them because they're real bad. I want to say that there has been a growth in my Zumba journey. And sometimes I see videos, and it's funny because when I look at Sin 68, I'm like, am I dancing like that? Like esos movimientos tan exagerados, those exaggerated movements. But since 68 was my first um
So what do you see
everything.
is the biggest change from your performance back then to your performance now when you see yourself?
I guess the education aspect, to put it, like the way I cue, the way I deliver the choreo. I feel like when a person is giving first opportunity, you want to do your best. So you dance at a 2000% and you want to bring the craziest choreo. And in our community and in our Zumba world, education and being able to deliver not just education to other instructors as a CJ, but also to my students as a Zumba instructor myself has to be at the forefront. So now the way that I choreograph, the way I bring forth anything is always uh keeping that education.
Yes, the delivery
It's
of the
not a performance.
choreography.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's teaching some things. Yeah, I mean, I look at
So
Sensei.
when do you think was the moment that it clicked in you that it was not just a performance and that you needed to sharpen the educational part of it?
When I got hit the streets at convention, when I got my own session, like hit the streets, because I
Which
went in
year was that?
2016 was the first hit the
And you
streets.
applied to teach that session, or
Yes, I
they told
applied. Yeah,
you?
I applied.
Okay.
Yeah, I applied.
Those of you that have not taken your session at convention, can you explain what the session is all about?
So hit the streets. The main focus of hit the streets is being different. Hit the streets. The sole purpose of hit the streets is to allow every single participant to discover their most unique self, to develop a style, a flavor, a teaching method, a teaching style that's uniquely to you instead of trying to replicate other people. Because that's what has happened in my Zumba career with somebody like Armando. Always bringing the latest music, the most innovative choreographies. It hit the streets is uniqueness. It's how to be different from everybody else. And that has always been at the forefront. Every year I teach something different. So I bring underground rhythms or underground dance styles that are trending throughout the world. So when Hit the Streets started, it started with the concept of bringing salsa choque, because salsa choque was, nobody knew what salsa choque was until the Colombian team started doing rastas, rastas, every time they scored a goal. And then salsa choque was exposed to the world. Zumba instructors started using it. And then from there, like another year, I did Mumbaton. And then I did a Latin trap when Bad Bunny really grabbed trap music. So it's bringing these underground cultures, which again are very unique because the people who develop them or the artists who create them is trying to be so different from the mainstream music, but also how you incorporate that as an instructor and then develop your most unique, authentic self.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I remember, I don't know which year it was. Do you remember one year that we were both teaching a master class the same day in Chicago at the same time? I messaged you and I was like, 20 minutes before the class. I was like, dude, I just realized that you're teaching a master class around the corner. We were actually very close in location. Had we known, we would have joined forces and done it together. So then after that, the following convention, I decided to go and see your session a little bit. Like as presenters, we just stop by as many different sessions to see a little bit what the session is all about. I had never seen you in action. Then I was like, whoa, this dude is into something. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't join forces with him for the master class. Like, he's very well prepared.
No, no.
Yes, it was very impressive to see. But I hadn't understood the concept that every year you just bring whatever is kind of trending or whatever is part of the culture at the moment and like help people to shine through whatever that culture is at the moment. That is awesome. So you've been
Yeah,
teaching every year?
yes, I've had it hit the streets every year since 2016.
And how many Zine volumes have you been invited to do?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
9? I don't remember. 8, 9? I count all of them.
I was going to say, how cool that you don't count. Like I could say it straight away. 11. Ronnie said it straight away. 8.
Did he? No, I don't know. I would need to count. I don't really know.
So
No,
then Zumba asked you to be a part of the development of the jam session. Get down.
Yeah. That came like way.
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago or something like that.
That was right? We started creating the Get Down program in 2021 or 2022.
It was launched this year or last year?
No, it was launched. This will be our second year. Did we start doing? The thing is that, girl, listen, COVID happened. My time frames are messed up. Like COVID was almost 5 years ago, yet in my brain, it was still last year. Like after COVID, my time frame is messed up. So this is our second year with the Get Down program, and we spent a whole year creating it. So I want to say we started probably 2020, 2021, I think. Yeah.
So now most of the jam sessions that you teach are Get Down, or you still do a lot of choreo?
No. So at the moment, I am currently a choreo CJ and a brand new toning CJ.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations. How cool. So I see you booked. If I visit your Zumba page, you have every weekend a jam session. But every weekend is a different kind, like choreo. Then the next weekend toning. Then the next weekend Get Down, or like you keep rotating, or?
So at the moment, I'm only doing choreo, but that's because I just became a toning CJ.
Okay.
And I just requested my first toning sessions with my toning coach, like the person who trained me to be a toning CJ. At the moment, I just do choreo until after I do those first, and then I'm able to start requesting toning. Okay. And I'll probably do that. I'll probably do 1 weekend of toning, 1 weekend of choreo, 1 weekend of toning, and I do jam every single month.
For those listening to this, just so you know, all the sessions that he has listed on Zumba.com, they are all sold out. Keep an eye on when he posts new sessions and register immediately, because he's booked for the rest of the year and they are all sold out. So that's how successful this man is. But you know what I find intriguing? That you don't have a background as a dancer or a choreographer. Then the first year in Zumba, in the Zumba world, you didn't even get it, the choreographies. You were just like freestyling. When he said that it finally clicks, you become a choreographer, because your choreographies are awesome. Like even the pandemic, I only took a couple of virtual master classes and they had to be with you. Like I was like, I really enjoy your choreographies. They are a lot of fun to teach. You can come up with stuff that may seem complicated, but somehow the way you teach it is not complicated. It's like, oh, it makes sense. And it's like the transitions, the progressions. Yes. So I'm very curious. How did it happen if you didn't have any training on it?
I know. I hear that a lot. I don't know why people think I hear it every single time I travel. They think that I come from a dance background. No, I come from a music background. And you had actually said like El Grupo de Alabanza. I was in El Grupo de Alabanza in my church. I was in the band. And so I come from music. Throughout middle school and high school, I went to a school for the arts, which Henry Cedeno also went to, for music. I've always done music. So I guess that has been to my advantage, because I've always had a musical ear and I have a lot of musical background knowledge in both, theory and composition, I guess you can say. But I started dancing when I found Zumba. That's why I delete my old videos, because they're bad. because I was a mess. There's still a couple out there that I can't delete. No, I started dancing, and the thing is that I became so passionate about Zumba, and I dove head in that it was all I wanted to know. Every time that I went to ZinCon, and this is something that I'll give any instructor out there listening, step out of your comfort zone. Like, register for your favorites, of course, because we always do, but always register for those style of sessions that are not your style. Is the only way you're going to grow. Because if you continue to polish something you're already good at, you're limiting your skills. And from the beginning of me being like a convention attendee, I always made sure that I took sessions that are not who I identify as an instructor, because it's the only way that I'm going to be able to bring something different to my students, because it's not just my growth. It's my students' growth as well. And the amount of growth they're going to have is the amount of growth that I give myself. So
I
started.
couldn't agree anymore to what you just said. And I want to also reinforce on the side of being an older instructor that has been teaching since forever. For all of the old Zumba instructors, we cannot allow ourselves to be stuck in our same style, because Zumba will continue to evolve, because we depend on music and we depend on dance and styles. And what Mauricio just said is 100% true. You have to choose the choreographies that challenge you and the new styles that you would never think that you would look good on it, because that's the only way that you train yourself on new styles and you keep up and you continue to grow, because like we cannot be the old school instructors. You're like, no, no, not allowed. You have to continue to evolve. So yes, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I always hear, especially those of us that have been doing Zumba for a long time, I always hear Zumba's not what it used to be. Well, I would hope so.
Thank
I
God.
hope so. Zumba needs to evolve in order for it to stay alive, or else it would have died like any other program that's out there. And I think that is the power of Zumba. And that is the incredible thing that all three Albertos have created and have continued to create, is that they're always at the forefront of everything. You don't want Zumba to be what it used to be in 2015. Zumba needs to be what Zumba needs to be right now in 2024, to continue to bring new students, to continue to bring new instructors, to evolve and have a presence in our fitness community, and for us to be able to continue to do what we love. Because I think that people mix up the emotion that we have, that feeling that we have towards what Zumba is and what Zumba has done, and then the business aspect of Zumba. You have to understand that they're two completely things. You will always have that love. You would always have that connection. It would always be something in your life journey that made a difference, that made an impact. And that doesn't change. That it grows or it diminishes depending on your situation. But you also have to understand that from a business point and from an educator point, because we are a fitness brand, we need to evolve. We need to keep up with the times. Our movement has to change. Music has to change. The way the company markets itself, which in return markets us as Zumba instructors, needs to stay current. If not, we're always going to be thought of, oh, Zumba. Oh, yeah, my mom used to do that back in 2003.
And that mentality has changed. Thank God. It used to be my mother's workout, my grandma's workout. It's no longer that. Now we're having a wave of new generation, super young kids that they remember. They're like, oh, yeah, I grew up seeing my mom doing this. But now it's like, it's very cool to do. Before it wasn't that cool. So now
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to
But
represent the brand.
Zumba's cool now. And it's funny because my kids, I was given the opportunity to be in the Nintendo Switch game, and my kids, anytime they can, my kids are very proud of the fact that I'm a Zumba instructor. Like, they are like, my dad teaches Zumba. And then like the teacher will be like, oh, really? It's Zumba? Where? What gym? And my kids will be like, no, he's in the Nintendo Switch game, or you can catch him in the Zumba app. Because they hear me doing stories. So like that vocabulary it's already ingrained in them. No, Zumba. I mean, there's no other fitness program out there like Zumba, and I don't think
Yes.
there'll ever
There will
be.
be, yeah.
No.
We're like 23 years into it. There's not going to be another program that compares to this. Thank God. Yeah. And Zumba is not going anywhere. If we continue to evolve and progress with all the changes, they will continue to be alive. Thank God. They're brilliant. Okay. So when is it that you start taking off on social media? Was it before pandemic?
No, it was actually when I was given the opportunity to be in the fitness concert. So I was in the fitness
Which
concert.
year?
17, and they had this idea of putting us all in a house, kind of like doing a Big Brother. And mind you, even then, posting on social media wasn't a thing. It wasn't, there was still that gray line of like, can you do YouTube or not? And I remember Zumba Home Office when we got picked as the being like, do stories, and most of us barely did. And the marketing team, like the social media team, would be like, guys, we need stories of you living and cooking. And now it's so normal to just do a story and be like, hey, I'm here cooking. But then it's really when I think I had like 4,000 followers when I was in the fitness concert. And, I really went into it. Like, I will go live on Facebook. That was the cool thing to do, Facebook Lives. I will go live on Facebook from us at the pool. I started really to post videos.
So funny before you get going. It is so true that it was so new and nobody was doing it, that when you guys started doing it, for all of us, we were like, oh, look at these guys just rubbing
Legit,
it in
right?
our
Yeah.
faces that they are a part of the fitness concert. Whatever.
No, and you know
Yes.
what? It's true. It can be taken that way from an outside perspective, because it's like, without purposely trying to have those intentions, the fact that we were together and sharing this experience and stuff, it can be taken like that,
No,
especially
and because when you are a pioneer, that's step number one. People are going to criticize you. That's it, because you're a pioneer. Nobody else was doing it. So we didn't understand, why are you showing us what you're eating or how you're training outside the fitness concert, right?
legit,
So
yeah.
you guys were the first ones. So that's why it was hard at the beginning, but yeah, definitely it caught a lot of attention.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just, from there was contento. Then
Okay, so what is contento? Because Ronnie also mentioned contento, and then I kept thinking we didn't clarify what contento is.
Maria,
People are gonna be so lost.
you're asking the wrong person, because I have short-term memory, which I always think my husband remembers everything and everybody, and everybody's. I have the worst memory. So 2017 was the first time people were put in a house, and it was like documented and stuff. And we were contento. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Wasn't it that there was a song and the name of the song was Contento, and that was kind of like the anthem of the fitness concert?
I don't know how it started, but I don't know how it started, but we were contento. Then the second year was Los Frescos. Yeah,
Yeah.
Los Frescos, right? And
Uh-huh.
then the third year, contento and Los Frescos were put together, and we were con fresco. And then the
Uh-huh.
fourth year, which was our 17, 18, 19, 20. And then the last year, we were Los Duros. When did we become? I don't know. Don't
Yes,
ask me,
because that was the
right?
the one before pandemic.
Yeah,
Because
right
during
before
pandemic we
pandemic.
didn't have it for 2 years. Mhm.
And then Los Duros was basically Contento, Los Frescos, and the OGs, right? Like I don't know.
I remember Los Duros. I remember Contento and Los Frescos. After that, I think I don't know. Maybe I didn't
I
keep
don't
up
I don't
with.
I don't remember either. But the thing is, you know what? I don't remember because of my lifestyle. I like a lot of people who truly know me, or other presenters that I've gotten the opportunity to travel with or to work with. My family's first. Like, I don't mind not sleeping as long as it means that I can take the last flight out of home and then take the first flight that comes back. So, and there might be a little bit of regret, like when thinking back on it, but there was a lot of things that happened with us as a group that I was just not involved in, because I was at a different point in my life. A lot of those people were single and living their best life and traveling. And I was like, no. As a matter of fact, there was one of the years that we did, I think it was when we did Confrescos, everybody stayed together. I stayed in a hotel with my family because they were with me. So I wasn't a part of like the dinners, and I wasn't a part of going out. And if on a Saturday night people were going to do something, it was like, I'd rather be with my kids. So that's why for
That's
me,
so beautiful, Mauricio. I'm so proud of you. That is so beautiful. It's very clear. As you know, you and I have known each other, but not been able to be friends. So, like, seeing you from the distance is so absolutely clear that your family is your number one priority. And
thank
it's
you.
so beautiful because it's like, it's very few presenters that you see that so clear. So, congratulations and thank you for giving that example to other people, that it is possible to achieve all your goals in your Zumba career while at the same time not neglecting your family. It is beautiful to see the
Yeah,
example.
it's a
And I have
balance.
also Also notice that you have slowed down posting your family on social media, because years ago it was like we were so happy seeing all your posts with your family, and then all of a sudden you don't post anymore. Is there a particular reason for it?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because it's hard to communicate, you know? It's because my kids are growing. And like I said, even when you were asking about their adoption, I want them to create their own persona. Like I want them to develop who they are as individuals. And I don't want to expose my kids to my lifestyle, which is a very public, visible lifestyle. I want to give them that privacy. And if they want to and they're ready, you know, there's been some projects that Zumba has asked me to do, and I will say yes or no depending on what the project is, because I want to respect my kids' choice of doing it or not. Like, and also
For
some other,
example,
no, I'm just saying like, I wouldn't know how to, I mean, there's like maybe creating some content that is not truly, like, for example, do a content you dancing with your kids to this song. So it would be like my kids don't dance. I could do a content of us having fun, like really showing who we are as a family. But I cannot do a video of them dancing when that's not really what they would do. Like the last video that I did, which was like a family thing, was for Father's Day, but it was funny because we do play around like that. Like you know, maybe they wanted us to dance and to have like this, but that doesn't happen because my Zumba life is so separate from my personal life. Who
your
I am in Zumba is
your,
not who
your
I am.
kids, do your kids want to be in your social media, and you're purposely giving them the message of no, because if you want to do it on your own, you do it on your own, or
No, they
they don't want to be a
they
part of
don't
your social
want
media?
to be. No. When I say, hey, come do a story with me, like, it's like, no. And again, I don't want to put that on my kids. Like, I don't want to force them. And we're living in like such a delicate social media driven society right now that I want to give them that space. And if they want to share it, cool. And if they don't, like, no, I'm just trying to be respectful of who they are, especially in this critical time frame in their life where they're developing like who they are as people.
Because we still don't know how damaging growing up in social media is going to be for kids. Those kids are just now becoming adults, and we're just now starting to understand all the damage that all this attention or need for attention is really causing on kids. So I love it that you are being very careful with that, because you realize that this is a weapon.
Yeah, very much. And I felt like there was a couple of times that I would travel, and you know, I don't really want to get into it because it's doesn't bring any value to our conversation right now, but like people would ask very uncomfortable questions that are because again, sorry.
That was perfect.
Get this- y me pasa every time. I do a virtual jam y estoy enseñando and they scream and everybody. This is not the first time people have watched me get scared. Sometimes I would travel and I would just get in uncomfortable questions about like personal life. No, and trust me, I get it. And I think everybody knows that I have adopted my kids. It's just when I think, that's why I said I opened the door by sharing that much. So I don't blame the people that are asking the questions because of my job, my life is very public and my personal as well as my Zumba life. So the reason why yes, I'll share when I go on vacations because I still love to share with the people who follow me and support me, like what I do and my life and being able to connect with I don't like to use the word followers, but being able to connect with like the other instructors who support me because I live off instructors and having that connection and being relatable, but also being very mindful of not opening too many doors where people then cross those boundaries of like, this is you're now evading my personal aspect of life and most importantly my kids, which they're untouchable. Like you can say whatever you want, but don't say anything when it comes to my family. I've always been that
So
person.
you travel for work. Do you travel with them or not that much? Because you used to
No,
travel a
no.
lot with them.
Yes, I did. I used to travel a lot with my husband and with Dylan when he was a baby. But no, now that they're in school and sports and things, it gets hard. It's a balance, Maria. It's having that balance of your Zumba life, your professional as a Zumba instructor life, your Zumba life as part of the community and Zumba friends and going out, family. And we hear that a lot. I mean, I hear it all the time, especially when it comes to jam sessions. I got to ask my husband if it's okay, because then he's going to get mad. We all go through it. Like, we all go through it. But I think it's because we still need to find that balance of our personal life with our Zumba life, with like our community life within Zumba and our professional life within Zumba, like when we're teaching, because it's two different things. So for me, having them now be in this stage of their life is literally trying to find that balance for myself, but also for them, of how much I share and how much I expose them, and giving them
Good.
that space and that privacy.
So you also teach a Zumba convention, a session, helping us to take off with our social media, right?
Yeah, influencer.
Okay. You've been teaching it for how long?
3 years. This was my third year.
Okay. Basically, what is it that you're teaching us in this session?
So influencer is giving you tools to create content, giving you the ins and out, as dumbified, like social media for beginners, basically, of how to shoot your content, how to edit it, how to get the highest quality, the best resolution. Because again, if you're gonna do something, do it in excellence, or don't do it at all. So it's just that and now after the third year, now, and talking to the Zen members and getting feedback, they're like, no, now we need like an intermediate level and an advanced level, because it's very social media intro for beginners.
For dummies.
Yeah, legit for dummies. No, because we do. In my session, I'm like, okay, everybody take out your phones, and we start changing settings. And you should hear, like, especially the first people, they're like, oh my God, ooh, they didn't know that they were not taking the highest video because their settings were wrong. They needed to lock in the AF and the AE. So that, and we'll literally do that. We'll take out everybody's phones. We'll start changing settings. I give them the recommendations. So we don't talk about creative way, choreography, branding. We don't talk about any of that. It's how to create content for your social platforms.
From your personal experience, how important is it for a Zumba instructor to have a social media channel? How does it benefit their Zumba career?
In life, it's everybody. I mean, you cannot be a member of society with now being in social media. I mean, how do you stay connected to family that don't live nearby unless you're still sending postcards? My husband's grandfather does. He still sends postcards and Christmas cards, but that's how he grew up, and everybody knows to receive a card from him. But it is extremely important. It's crucial. Everything is now geared and targeted towards social media. I mean, from political campaigns to the things you buy to your.
But at the same time, we're being controlled because we are posting our whole life. So they are controlling us because of that. So how beneficial is it? Let's just focus on the Zumba world. How beneficial is it for our Zumba business?
It should be your number one priority. Is how you
Why?
market yourself. It's going to be how you market yourself locally. I mean, yes, word of mouth will always exist. I mean, realtors depend on it. Doctors depend on it. A lot of people in professional careers depend on word of mouth. But now think about it. You go to a restaurant because you saw a video of somebody saying, look at this restaurant, or you saw the picture of a food. You buy something because you saw somebody saying, you guys need to buy this gadget. It's the way that as a Zumba instructor, you're going to market yourself, continue to promote your classes, bring in new demographics, depending on how you post and you brand yourself on your social media platforms. It's crucial. I think that a business that is not on social media is dead.
Because nowadays, social media is the new word of mouth. Like, we send links to videos to all of our friends. Whatever we see that we like, we just share it with the other, and that is the new word of mouth. So for you to have more exposure, like, for example, Ronnie was mentioning that if it wasn't because he started appearing as he's traveling as a Zumba presenter, and he's in Spain, and he's in Israel, and these different countries, he believes that that's how he started getting good deals and getting invited to present in other countries, because people saw him that he was already traveling to teach Zumba classes then, and he got more exposure. Do you feel that is true? That has something similar happened to you when you started taking off with your social media? Did he help you to launch your Zumba business at a bigger scale?
Yeah, of course, because that's developing your brand. You are showcasing that you are good enough to be hired in all these places around the world, that there's a demand for you that then piques the interest of other people. Oh my God, so and so had him in Australia. We need to have him in the Philippines.
But have you seen it happening in you, or you had already taken off? You
Absolutely.
were already
No,
going everywhere.
yeah, absolutely. And it's still important. Like, and again, everything, the way you do your flyers, the way you market yourself, it's appealing. It builds, it sets a reputation of who you are because of what people see. Like, think about even the new talent that's upcoming in Zumba right now. You're like, wow, they're really taking off. Look at that. They're in a different country in every single place. And as a host, because I like to host, as a host, is like, I'm gonna bring them because clearly they're popular and everywhere they go, they have classes and everybody wants them. So let me bring them because that's going to help me sell tickets because they're popular.
Same time, don't you get sick and tired of seeing all the Zumba instructors posting so many dance choreographies? It's like I open my feed and it's like, there you go. The dance
Yep,
and
I
dance
think,
and dance.
but I think that it goes back to what I've been saying from the beginning is
Like
creating.
how can we make it a little different? So it's not like, oh, it's just all the Zumba instructors dancing the same way, because it becomes monotonous. So how can we still appeal with something different and unique?
Being authentically you, and I think that's the thing. And I think that was the main concept of Hit the Streets, and that has been the main thing for me as a presenter, and the way that I do brand myself and the way that I do anything in my professional career is how can I be as different as possible, from the way I dress to the way I speak to the way I market myself to the way I teach my classes. Because in the Zumba world, like I said, even if you look back then, which was the big appeal of Armando for me, it was like, what can I do that nobody else is doing? That's how I have always lived my professional life, is how can I be as different as possible? I feel like people are shooting under a bridge. I have to find a bridge and shoot under the bridge because that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing I mean, that comes to a quality thing, but I feel like in the Zumba world, a lot of us can probably fall into, I'm going to do this because that's what everybody else is doing. And then Zumba reshares them and posts on their stories. When in reality, you might be missing out on the fact of bringing something completely different that will probably get more engagement than trying to replicate what everybody else is doing.
What's your criteria for you to post a video? What does a video need to have that makes Mauricio feel like, okay, I'll post this?
Great quality. Okay.
Quality of what?
Of video. Great quality
Okay.
of video. Like, it needs to be shot with a professional camera, the right settings, the right
And the phone, a professional camera, or that doesn't apply?
I have never uploaded a phone recorded video.
No way. So which camera do you use?
My professional camera.
Which is what? Which
A
is the brand?
Sony A7 III.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how does it need to be filmed? Because nowadays everything's moving. It
Yeah.
starts on
It depends. That's a creative thing. It depends on the vibe and the feel and the aesthetic look that you're trying to bring. But I mean, the quality of the video matters, but also the song. There's a lot of songs that I have choreos to, I don't even post because they're not what I would consider posting worthy. So it needs to be a great song with a great choreography, that it looks like we rehearsed it. Because sometimes sometimes you might see videos and you look at a person still looking, no, like, it needs, I need to have rehearsed it with you. We need to look like we both know what we're doing. Everything needs to be.
Need to match outfits as well?
No, because a lot of especially when I collaborate, they'll ask me, what are we wearing? And I'm like, whatever is you. I know it. We shouldn't know, because I am a huge advocate for be as authentically unique you as possible. So wear what you would wear, so people start to see who you are and recognize your brand. Sometimes I watch videos that just don't seem authentic, don't seem natural, because they match and then they try to match the dancing style. I'll never tell a fellow instructor, do your arm like this, because that's how I do my arm. You should do your arm the way you do your arm.
You only post dancing on videos with presenters. You don't post with like the regular instructor that still doesn't look that good dancing.
No, because I've never had the opportunity to shoot with an instructor, because again, when I travel, I take still to this day, I take the last flight if I could land, teach, shower in the airport and fly back, I'll do that to have more time with my family.
Yeah, I get
So
you because that has been my flow too. Me as a
yeah,
single
and
mom with
so
my
most of
son.
the time
Yes.
I don't even get to do videos, and when I do get to do videos, it's literally with whoever I'm co-teaching or whoever's part of that festival or whatever. Like, do you have time? Let's go outside and I'll shoot very quick. I don't stay for days, and I don't have. So I've never had the opportunity to shoot with like a Zen member or anything like that because
Yeah, but that's mainly the reason why for me on my videos, I don't rehearse. I don't care if the person didn't know the step well. I don't care if I made a mistake. I just, because I'm not going to stay longer just to make a video perfect. So I'm like, whatever, I'm teaching my B1. We're going to tape this. It's one take. However it is, it's going to go out. Oh, if you make it on my social media, because I also say to them, I don't know if you're going to make it. If we make it on social media and I post you, then it doesn't matter. Because I don't have the time to plan and rehearse and make everything perfect. So otherwise I would never post anything. So
no. And I've gone weeks. No, I've gone weeks without posting. Look, if you go to my social media, my
which
last
was not your flow. No, I do notice. I went through your social media and I
August
noticed.
30th.
And I was gonna ask you since when you changed that criteria, because there was a time, maybe during the pandemic, that you were like post constantly, and then you slow down.
Well, during the pandemic, because I had a time to do it. I mean, everybody was bored at home trying to figure out what to do. But now a lot of factors go into the amount of posts that I do. Like, do I have the time to really go somewhere and post? It doesn't help that I am an extreme introvert in real life. I cannot shoot a video if there's people around me. There has to be nobody. Sometimes I've done videos where
No.
literally my husband and I are standing there for 30 minutes until that person that's all the way there is no longer there. Sometimes I've gone somewhere with the idea and I just don't shoot because there's people. So a lot of goes into why I haven't been posting lately is one, I'm real busy. We just moved to a new city by ourselves. My husband's real busy. I'm real busy. My kids are real busy. There's just no time. Or I rather not. Sometimes I'll shoot a video right here. It doesn't look good. So I rather not post it.
And
Quality for me is everything.
okay.
It has to be up to my quality standards for me to post. And that doesn't mean saying somebody's bad or no. It needs to be like there was time and effort put into it.
And what is the main message that you want people to receive with your social media, with your Instagram in particular? With every single post, what's the message you're sending?
Be you, be you, be you, be you. Don't try to be, and I say this every single opportunity that I can, don't try to be anybody else. Be
But
you.
how do you differentiate? Like, I'm showing you how amazing I am, but don't be like me. I want to inspire you to be you. How do you make that message clear? Because I go to your Instagram, and if I don't read, obviously in your biography it says be you. Then I see all these gorgeous videos. You look amazing, Nancy. It's like mesmerizing. You can spend hours just scrolling, watching all of your choreographies. How do I necessarily get that message that you're telling me I want you to be you and not I'm telling you to dance as awesome as me?
Well, the thing is that my brand has never been in my Instagram per se, because that's what we're referencing. My brand has been to expose who I am and my style and what I do as a Zumba instructor. None of the posts that I do are from like this life coach, inspirational. I do that when I present, when I do my jam sessions, because I'm able to have those moments where I speak, where I have that connection. In my social media is literally showcasing who I am. And a way to connect it is I try to do things as different as possible. That's why I'm saying that the song is important. Like, you go through my social media, you will never see a popular song. Like, you will never see Despacito or like any song that everybody I don't do trends.
Which songs do you use?
My underground songs, like, so I guess the way that I'm showcasing a BU is don't fall in those trends, because you'll never see me do a trend. If you go through my social media, a lot of my songs are super underground, which I barely see anybody else post. And I try for my choreographies to be as different as possible. Like, I never did this little step when everybody was doing that little step. Like, I try to be as different as possible. So yes, the message kind of like are hand in hand, because I do use my social media to brand and expose and market myself. But the way that message is being showcased is I don't do, or at least I hope it's being received like that. I don't do whatever everybody else is doing.
We always have this clear intention of what we want our message to be, but everybody's perceptions are different. And sometimes there's a bigger message that people are getting from us or that people feel attracted to when they see us on social media. From my own experience, I've been a life coach for 10 years. I'm always into self-development, into nutrition, live a holistic lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. But in my social media, people mostly like seeing me dancing kizomba. They just like to see my ass moving. And when I show my body, that's what appeals to people. That's it. When I post a video talking or recommending something else, that's not what appeals, even though that's the real message I want to send. So going to your account, I know you want us to inspire us to be ourselves, but when I'm looking at your choreos, I just want to be as fucking cool as you and
Thank you.
grab your steps and that's like that. So it's tricky, right? Like, how do we really get our message across? How can we be that? And if we start being that specific, trying to get our message across, we see that nobody pays attention to those posts. So then we feel discouraged and we don't post those that much. Like I
Yeah,
see it now
because
with my podcast. When I post my short clip of an episode, obviously it's never going to get as many views as a dancing video of mine. But I'm telling myself it doesn't matter. Little by little, I'm changing the message because I want people to be curious about other people, learn from others, challenge your own beliefs by listening to other people's beliefs. And that's the main point, right? So
no, no, legit, but that's the thing. It's like when you are like, for example, if I were to post something about how to choreograph or how to deliver, I am narrowing down my demographic to a specific group of people when there are so many other people that follow me. So I try for every post that I do to be able to be as engageful to everybody as possible, which is something that I talk about in my influencer too. Like, be careful with what you post, because you might be posting about, like, you might be posting a flyer of an upcoming class, but the only people that are interested are the people who live around you or who you're hitting a specific demographic. When you can market yourself, you can showcase the event that's coming, but be appealing to everybody and have a general appeal rather than just focusing on a specific demographic. So though I try to bring that forward in my social media, I also have to keep in mind that I'm not just followed by Zumba instructors. I'm also followed by students. I'm also followed by people who, because of social media and some of the collaborations I did, are inspired by my family and my journey. So whatever I post, I try it to appeal to a broader demographic rather than just Zumba instructors. So, I mean, it depends. And again, it
it's
goes back
tricky.
on how you want to develop your brand. If you want to develop your brand and only appeal to Zumba instructors, then follow that path. It's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take a little bit of legwork in order to break that mold and really develop what you're trying to do. But you have to stick to it. I try for my social media to be as broad as possible because I know that there's people from all walks of life who follow me.
Whenever you have to market, promote a specific event or a specific niche, do you still do it? Because I do it, but then I know that I'm going to archive that post. I'm going
No,
to
I
post
do it
it
on my,
because maybe
that's
the
what
class is next week.
No, you will never see me post something on my feed. I would do it on my stories. Whenever it's to hit, like, come to my jam session, all this, I would do it on my stories, or, which I teach about this in my influencer, I use Facebook because that's what Facebook has turned into. Facebook is for community. So whenever I want to hit a specific group of people, I go to Facebook because I'm able to share, like, for example, a jam session. I then share on my feed, and then I share on the groups of people who are interested in jam sessions. So one post, and I talk about this in my influencer, one post is not a good for all. You need to do individual posts depending on what you're posting. You want to show who you are, your brand, your creativeness, what makes you you, and why people follow you, post on Instagram. You really want to have that personal connection and really hit a specific group of people with a specific group of interests, then go to Facebook, because Facebook has turned into community. Facebook is all about community, pages, likes, interests. And
So you don't recommend to have the accounts linked and whatever I post in one automatically gets posted on the other one?
no,
You don't do that?
no, no, unless you are creating posts that are going to appeal to a generic group of people. So I have mine linked, but that's because I don't do specific posts. Like I'll do a choreography. Somebody might look at the video because they like salsa, while and somebody might look at the same video because it's an instructor and they want the choreo. Or somebody might look at the video because they like to hear music that is different. So then they're going to look up the song and add it to their playlist. So anything that I post on my social channels, I try for it to be as generic, as appealing as possible, not to a specific group of people.
Awesome. And you have never posted on your Instagram that you are teaching all these tips about social media at Zumba convention.
No,
right?
because that would only appeal to the Zumba instructors who are going to convention. I did post about my sessions, and I think I but I did it as a creator.
But if you were to post it, then maybe now going to Zumba convention will be more appealing because they're like, oh, I thought I was only going to get dancing sessions, but I also get business sessions, and I definitely want to take Mauricio's session. Because at the end of the day, 80% of the people that follow you are Zumba instructors.
Yeah. I'll do it on my stories, honestly. I'll do it on my stories and I'll post it on Facebook, but I just will not post it as a feed post on Instagram.
Okay. It's not perfect enough for your standards of quality.
No, it's just it's targeting a specific group.
I understand. Yes, but that's when it becomes tricky because then if we don't post on the wall, do you have like thousands and thousands of people checking your stories? Because the stories views have declined. I remember a few years ago, I used to have like 20,000 people watching my stories. Now it's nowhere near. They declined for you as well?
No, so we have to keep in mind that what data shows is that only a 3.5% of your followers interact with your content. So grab the amount of followers you have and then divide that by 3.5%, which is the worldwide data of the amount of people that actually interact with your content, unless you are somebody super famous that everybody loves. But the worldwide national average is 5% of your actual followers. So it depends. But again, I've noticed that it depends on how I market and how what they call the CTA, a call to action, on how I get people to engage with me. If I'm doing a story where I'm just like, hey guys, Zumba convention, whoa, it'll probably get 4,000 people viewing my story. But if I say something along the lines of, who's ready for Zumba convention? What outfits are you planning to wear for the theme party? I already did a C2A, a call to action, which makes whoever's watching my story engage because you're making it relatable to them. You're making them, you're basically setting up the trap for them to engage rather than just skip your story. So depending on how I do my stories, for example, I'm going to talk about a jam session. We can go 2 more hours talking about this. Instead of saying, hey guys, upcoming jam session this Saturday. So probably say something along the lines of like, I just requested my December jams, right? Guys, last jam sessions of the year with me. This will be the last time I do choreos and jam sessions in 2024. Are you guys excited? Click on this link and register. The fact that I'm making it relatable.
So you will not post that on your wall?
No, on my story.
But I think you should, because I don't watch anybody's stories. I've never watched your stories. Okay, 2 days ago, I did it because I know we were going to be talking. So I wanted to see the style of your stories. But I don't watch anybody's stories, so I would never know when Mauricio is posting new sessions. Therefore, I'm never going to register for one because every time I check your page, they are all sold out. And if you put it on your wall, a video will appear on my feed, and then I will see it. So I think you're missing out.
But my sessions are still sold. You know what I mean?
Know.
I think that when it comes to the people who truly follow me and that are interested, mind you, I have a newsletter. There's a lot of other things that I have. But what I'm saying is, I think that not that I've cracked the system, but I think I have developed a way for me to market myself, which has been working, right? And I would be too nervous to change my strategy and then like lower the engagement because, well, he's posting about jams. I'm not a Zumba instructor. I could care less about going to a jam session. Okay. Where in return, I'm posting a choreo showing how different my music is, how different my choreographies are, getting people excited to... I have to take one of his jams because this is what I would learn in a jam.
I think from my perspective, I would like to have on my feed Mauricio telling me what's up with his life and all the amazing things he's teaching because I want to be a part of that if I see it on the feed. But I am not going to take my effort to reroute and click on the story to see what's going on with your life.
No, I feel you.
So
And I've thought about that because it's like, especially having conversations with my family, they're like, oh my God, you guys do so many cool things. Like, we've taken our kids to like crazy places and we do cool things and I don't share about it. And yes, I might be missing out on this whole new avenue of like exposing myself as a person with a social media presence. But it's just, I know me and I know that that would take a lot of work and I'd rather stick to what I know I'm going to be able to deliver consistency. And that's the problem that a lot of people who take off or who go super viral from a one video is just, it's not authentic to who they are. So then creating content becomes even harder because now you're forcing yourself to do something that's not authentic to you. So that's why from the beginning I say try to be as authentic as possible because then things are just going to flow naturally and you're going to be able to create things naturally. If you're trying to be somebody you're not, you're adding another obstacle when it comes to creating content, posting content because it's not you. So I rather stick to the strategy that I have because that's what's authentic to me. I like to post high quality content. I like to share a lot about my life, but I use that through stories, right? And that's how I'm able to interact and connect and communicate with my followers. And that's what comes easier to me, which is why I'm able to do it. If I were to change that strategy completely, then I'm over there overwhelming myself because that's not who I am as a
and it
person
also has
to be.
to do a lot with your priorities at the moment. Your priorities, your family, and you're very busy raising 3 kids and in all of their activities being very present. So obviously, like, why changing it when it's working perfect for you? You already have a system and you have all the rest of the time to focus on your kids. So yeah, based on your priorities, I will agree that you should keep going in the same way.
No, and trust me, I've thought about it. I'm like documenting our trips, or maybe like I'm really into fashion, or maybe, but I'm like no, because I know I'm not gonna keep up with it.
Yes. And I
Yeah,
think you gave it a try. I think I saw that you were going to start blogging on your
yeah,
Instagram and
girl.
you're like,
See,
yes.
and no, no. So that's why I just no. Let me.
But you were probably like, what was I thinking? This is going to take so much of my time.
I was. Oh my God, you did your research. I was, and see, that's what I'm talking about. I'd rather stick to like what I know I'll be able to deliver, because then no, then I look bad. Then it looks like, oh, he always starts something and doesn't follow through. No.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
And I
I
think
agree. Okay.
that's why my jam sessions are sold out and stuff, because it's something that I'm able to deliver on and people already know what to expect because I am so consistent. If I try to do something completely different, I'm going to lack on my delivery, and then part of my brand is delivering excellence, and I know that if it's going to be even harder to deliver excellence if I do something that's not authentic to me.
What percentage of the people that take your jam sessions are recurrent clients?
I would say 98. 98.
98% are. Oh, wow. See, because you're not inviting all of us, the rest of us, through your posting on social media.
That's true.
You keep having the same.
Yeah, that's true.
See, give us a chance. Post on your wall, then we all find out. We all register before the regulars, and then we all continue to represent you because we're getting inspired by your style.
Yeah, it's very rare when I have like new people. It's a double-edged sword, you know?
It is, yes,
Yeah.
it is. But it's working for you. So I am glad that business is very successful. Mauricio, I know you've given me so much time. I thank you so much.
No, no.
Next question I want to ask you. If you were to describe yourself, give me 3 words to describe yourself.
Introverted, big time. People don't think I am. Creative and caring.
Give me 3 words that your friends describe you with.
No patience. No tengo paciencia. No patience. Loving. I give a lot of love to those around me, and a planner. I have to plan everything. Yeah.
Okay. And give me 3 words that your husband describes you with. Maybe you don't know. Maybe this is a good one for you to ask him.
No, we talk about it all the time. He's gonna be a saint. No patience, for sure. OCD. Again, I have to plan everything. Everything needs to be in order all the time. And adventurous.
Are you the adventurous one and you push him to be more adventurous, or he is as well?
Yeah. No, no, no. No, he's super adventurous, but I'm the one who would say, let's jump up that rock. Let's go do yeah, I'm super adventurous. Cuz I like to do new things. I like to explore, try
You're
new.
not afraid of trying new things. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Adventurous for sure.
Mauricio, I would love to have you again because I have many more questions. I would love to continue to get to know you. So please come back when I invite you in the future. See, 2 hours went like
Yeah.
5 minutes.
2 hours and 30 minutes, basically.
Yes, yes. And it was awesome. And I still want to get to know you more and more. So thank you so much for giving us this time, for talking with me about such private stuff, knowing that I am going to make this conversation public. But thank you for giving everybody the chance to just be a fly on the wall, absorbing and learning and getting inspired or challenging their own beliefs just by listening to our conversation. So I appreciate every second of your time. Thank you so much. Continue to inspire us with your amazing work because it's
Thank you.
not
Oh,
just
thank
the
you.
choreography.
Thank you for inviting me. This was fun. It was a blast.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Perhaps you were a little nervous since you are an introverted person. Perhaps you were like, what are we going to talk
Yeah,
about?
I need enough. Yeah.
Next time you can bring your wine or whatever you drink. Relax. Thank you, baby. Go enjoy your day. Say hi to your husband and your kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you, love. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Amazing conversation with Mauricio Camargo. I think there are many different deep points to ruminate on and to perhaps challenge our own beliefs or to consider that we can have our own beliefs and other people can have their own beliefs. And it's not a matter of being right or wrong. It's a matter of respecting each other's beliefs. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to click on the follow button on Spotify or subscribe button on YouTube so that you can continue to help me to grow this channel. Write in the comments which part of this conversation resonated the most with you, which questions you would like me to ask Mauricio on our next conversation whenever he joins us back as a guest. Thank you so much. See you next week.